Another month has come and gone, and that means that it's time for me to recap what I read in October and give you guys a little bit of insight into what I thought of these books. October was a fabulous reading month for me. I read, how many books? 7? I read 7 books. I'm so excited about that. I read 7 books, guys. But first, if you come to this channel to see my bookish videos, if you like bookish videos of any sort, if you like me, then I have a book blog. So if that is your jam, go and check out the book blog. I'm going to be doing more in-depth stuff on that blog, as well as kind of recommendation lists and some other more exciting posts. I think they're more exciting, but if you like bookish stuff, be sure to go and follow my blog because it's going to be getting a lot of content. A lot of content in the next coming weeks, so I'm very excited about that. Be sure to check that out. Let's get back into my wrap-up video. Okay, so the first book that I managed to read was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Now, I told you guys in my last video that I was gonna try and get to this. I did, and it was great. I loved it, actually. The illustrations to me are probably like the best part of this graphic novel, as oftentimes is the case. They walk a really great line of being creepy enough, but not being overly gory or overly like violent. So I really, really like that. I would definitely recommend you go and check that book out. The next book that I read in October was Eileen. Now, Eileen is a man booker. It was shortlisted for the man booker. So Eileen follows a woman by the name of Eileen, and she is incredibly self-loathing. She hates her life. She's really distracted by the fact that she's super unhappy. I read a really good comment that said she takes self-loathing to an art form, and I thought that was so apt of Eileen. And so it's about her working at this prison and meeting this other woman who comes to work at this prison, and kind of what happens to them and their relationship as they go on. I don't know if this is a book that I would have picked up on my own, so I'm really glad that the booker is giving me these excuses to pick up books that I never would have read. Next, Drew and I both finished the audiobook of The Silkworm. I love these books. I know I say it a million times, but I just really, really do. We finished that one. This is my second time listening to it. It was Drew's first time. He guessed everything immediately, which was super frustrating because I have read these books and I still am like, ooh, what's gonna happen? So I'm super frustrated that he always gets it. He got it with the first one, he knew it was gonna happen, and then the second one, he knew it was gonna happen. So I'm just like, fine. You know what? Just go and be a detective. Moving right along to a short story collection that I actually picked up from the library called Children of the New World. Now, this book I have a full review of on the blog, and it was one that I had to do a full review of because I despised it. There were a few short stories in it that I thought were very good, and I thought were just very nice. Good little short stories. However, the majority of them I had a big problem with, and it wasn't the writing. The writing is great. The story arcs are okay. There was a couple stories where I was just like, there's no point to the story. I didn't really like that. But it is a kind of postmodern world where the tech has advanced so much in such a short amount of time that it immediately snapped me out of the story. I was immediately aware that these brain implants are not going to occur in the next 10-15 years. I remember sitting there going, no, that's not gonna happen. And another thing that I think technological based stories get wrong a lot is that they are so convinced that technology drives people apart instead of bringing people together. That is not true, and I'm so tired of that trope. I'm ranting, but it's okay. If you want to go and read my super ranty review on the blog, I'll link that down below. So after I read Children of the New World, I decided that I wanted to go back to an author and the stories that I really liked, so I read another book by Sarah Addison Allen, and at the rate I am going to read all of her books this year. The one I read this month was The Peach Keeper, and this basically, if you don't know, Sarah Addison Allen writes magical realism, but it's very, I don't know, it's kind of fluffy magical realism. It's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but the first book I read by her was The Sugar Queen, which I adored. And then this book, I just didn't like very much. I didn't find anybody very interesting. I didn't find the plot very interesting. I thought it was kind of just a rehash of a lot of the same stuff. I think the Sugar Queen, with its use of magical realism, is a lot more interesting. I'm going to be doing as well a whole blog review of Sarah Addison Allen and what I think of her writing very shortly, because like I said, I've read almost everything she's written, so there's that. Next up we have the Knife Drawer. Now I hauled the Knife Drawer several months ago. I never got around to it. It is a kind of magical realism, kind of weird, fantastical, lyrical sort of story. Thinking about it afterwards, seems a little purple. Have you guys heard of purple prose? It seems purple, and it's not something I'm always super fond of. I'm much more a fan of people who write really well, but who can write simply. I'm not saying I don't like lyrical prose, I do, but there comes a point where something escapes lyrical prose and goes into purple prose, and this definitely shoots beyond lyrical into purple, and I liked it. I thought the story could have been taken farther. There were aspects of it that I thought were really great, but there were other aspects that I thought this could be taken a couple steps further and gotten weirder and more dark. However, it is a gorgeous book, and I'm really happy that I own it because I very much like the look of it. And finally, the last book that I have read this month was The Sellout by Paul Beatty. Like with Eileen, this book was a Man Booker. It was shortlisted and it actually won. So I'm really happy that I managed to read the winning Man Booker book in October. I had started it and had not quite finished it by the time the Man Booker was announced, but I was pretty positive through the whole thing. I was like, this one's gonna be the one that wins. So The Sellout is about a boy who has grown up in kind of this small town outside of Los Angeles, and his father was super weird and did these psychological tests on him when he was a kid, and so he's grown up very aware of kind of his dad's weirdness. I don't know a better way to put that. He grew up very aware of his dad's opinions and point of view. So it's important to point out The Sellout is a satire. It is also a book, much like Eileen, that I would not have picked up if it wasn't for my goal to read all these Man Booker books. I'm not surprised at all that I won, because it deals a lot with racial tensions and race relations, which I think is getting a lot of attention right now. And I'm not surprised that a book that they thought was so well written won this year, if that makes sense. So the Man Booker obviously is a UK prize. Paul Beatty is an American author, and this actually marks the first time an American author has won the Booker, which is also kind of an interesting little point in history, is that this American author who wrote about race relations in a very satirical way won the Booker. So anyway, interesting little side note. I really enjoyed this. It is not an easy book, but it's also not the hardest I've read, and it makes you uncomfortable. And it points out very effectively kind of the ridiculousness of thinking we have a post-racial society. If you are all interested in getting into more literary fiction, I think that is a really good stepping stone. That is all the books that I have read in October. November, I don't know what I'm gonna read. I'm waiting for a couple books to come in from the library, and I'm also waiting to get my hands on a couple other Man Booker books. I'm hoping to finish out the shortlist this month. Maybe next year I'll pick an American award instead of a British one. Maybe, we'll see. But anyway, so that is going to do it for today. I hope you all are having a fabulous reading month. I'm having a really good reading year. I have officially passed my goal of 30 books this year. I have read now 39 books. So I'm very excited about that. I'm hoping that maybe I can hit 52 by the end of the year. That's my new stretch goal, is 52. So I hope everybody is having a great month, and I will see you guys very shortly. Bye.